What's up, Columbia, South Carolina? You guys, look who we have, right? The talk show host extraordinaire, TV too, she does it all, right? And the voice on the street. I'm so happy to be here with none other than the On Point with Cynthia Hardy. I love it. You're such an inspiration to us. Thank you so much for being here. How exciting. We're here at another Freedom Fund Gala, right? But this one is extra special, right? There's been a lot of stuff going on across South Carolina, and you know, unity is on the menu this election, right?
You know, right now, there's a level of excitement in our community around the election. I didn't expect when Kamala Harris came into the race for everything just to explode the way that it did with the fundraising, with the support. So what I'm seeing is a lot of mobilization out there. I'm seeing a lot of activities that draw people in, speaks to people's curiosity about what's happening, but also answers their questions. Can't tell you the number of times when we tell people go vote, they ask me why. And we have to be ready with that answer, and oftentimes we aren't. We can't just say, because people died for you to do it. But at the end of the day, there are too many people who cannot afford a place to live based on the money that they make. And if you want to own something right now, it's 40% higher to own a house now than it was pre-pandemic. That should not be. That's just 5 years ago.
You mentioned that people were just really sort of excited about this election season. What does this election season mean for you as a Black woman?
Well, I just think it's important. We've had some hard years, and you mentioned it a moment ago. I think that in 2016, when Donald Trump became president, during that period of time, I think there was a lot of erosion in terms of cooperativeness. I don't even know if that's a word, but the
Cooperation.
Yeah, the cooperation between factions of people to get things done. We don't see that much of it, and there's a lot of vitriol that was out there, and so that troubles me. I know that Joe Biden did a good job. I do know that. But I also know that the Democrats have a difficult time with messaging, you know, because the populace doesn't know that administration actually did a fabulous job. And so if we have to compare the administration before Biden and the Biden administration in terms of what was accomplished for the people that are in my village, then the Biden administration is the best. So I think that people have to look at the issues, but that's the problem. So often they don't know what the issues are.
And the CHIPS Act, infrastructure bill, all of the manufacturing, you know, all of those things are so important. We recognize that Donald Trump doesn't have a plan. He has a concept of a plan, right?
But he's very popular. He's very popular among the groups where he's popular. And so...
we're also misinformed.
Well, you know, there's something about that, the brute kind of characterization that he carries around that has an appeal to a certain group of people. They like it, you know, and some people like that he's a TV guy. They like it. You know, people sometimes get enamored with people that they see that they think are famous, and I think that that's a part of it as well. I don't want to see us go so conservative that it'll be very difficult for us to realize gains and to be able to celebrate gains. I recognize that the Trump campaign has put out statements that say they are not connected with Project 2025. It's just kind of hard to believe, just because so many of the authors of Project 2025 worked for the president, gave to the president, is in the president's camp, well, you know what I mean, the former president's camp. You know, so it's hard to believe. And I do believe that there are groups of people that feel as if there's segments of the population that they can sacrifice. I hate to say it, and I hate to see it, but I do think that.
Cynthia, thank you so much. We really appreciate you stopping by. Right, we're here with none other than South Carolina Representative Cambrell Garvin. How are you this evening?
I'm doing very well, Javon. It's always just good to see you. And Monique and I have been married now for, 9 years in December, so.
I love that. I love that. Listen, there's been a lot going on, right? We're at the Freedom Fund 2024 in the midst of one of those times in South Carolina history where perhaps we might have not thought we would see that our generation would be experiencing this, right? We just had Representative Leon Howard on, and he was really giving us a lot of flavor when it comes to battling some of the things that we've been seeing just this week, right? Myself was at the University of South Carolina Russell House. I attended the roast, right? Which was more like a little slow, light burn, but it was what it represented, right? This week, what has it been like, constituents calling you, talking to you about just really the theme and everything that's going on? What's that been like for you?
Absolutely. I think that this week has demonstrated that progress can certainly be vulnerable if we don't protect it. We've made a lot of progress over the past 50 years, and to be honest, if we don't do a better job of ensuring that we don't go backwards, we will continue to see that progress unravel. You know, the roast at Carolina is such a sad event, and I think that the community...
It was really sad.
Absolutely. And the community had every right to be upset. You know, we have our first African American and Asian American woman running for president, and here we have the Proud Boys coming in to try to demean her. And I think that's unacceptable, and I think we as a people, we as a state, and we as all people, not just black folks, but white folks and folks of every background must be willing to come together and stand up whenever we see injustice rear its ugly head.
How possible is that for us at this time when, you know, you were at the watch party with us, right? There are a lot of people that feel like maybe the other side is just not quite ready to negotiate, even though we have the willing spirit, a loving spirit. I feel like just like tonight we're getting together, we see a very diverse group of people in an audience here. Do you feel like, you know, the other side is maybe willing to even have that discussion or that conversation?
Sure. So I think compromise and I think bipartisanship are both becoming ugly words in the age of Trump, where it's fight my enemy, it's hate my enemy, you know. So I think when we have that kind of leadership coming from the top of the Republican Party, it's trickling its way down. And I've said it before, South Carolina historically has not been like Washington, D.C. The fights that we saw in Washington, D.C., the nastiness, you know, the rhetoric that we saw in D.C. has not always been in South Carolina. But over the past several years, we have seen the D.C. antics infiltrate our state. We have seen, you know, we talk about Project 25. Over the past 4 years, we already have Project 25 in South Carolina. So, you know, quite honestly, we have work to do. We have to win more seats as Democrats. We have to get more Republicans that are not going to just go along to get along with the majority party. And until that happens, we will continue to see this spiraling of our values, the spiraling of our decency, and the spiraling of our democracy if we don't do something about it.
How concerned are you with being parents in today's climate, right? Children are coming up really fast, so it won't be long before you have teenagers, right? What are you concerned most of as a parent?
I think my concern, so a lot of work that I do is really around violence prevention and ensuring that we have safe communities for our children. And so my concern is that a lot of the antics and rhetoric that's been happening around our politics right now will filter down to the kids. But I do have some hope still, because I feel like the younger kids that I talk to, the generations that I talk to, they're seeing how much division is happening within our politics and our community, and they really rejected it in a lot of ways. So I feel hopeful that they'll continue to fight harder than we fought, and really reject those old, previous, antiquated ways of being that are rooted in bigotry and racism and all those forms of oppression. So I'm a little nervous, but still hopeful at the same time.
Awesome. And so how does it feel to be here tonight, right? Tonight is really about celebrating freedom. What does the NAACP represent to you?
Absolutely. Well, many folks probably know this, but I actually got my start in community activism right here as a member of the Columbia branch. So anytime I'm at an NAACP event, I'm always telling folks I'm back home. It's great to be here. You know, when I say I was active, I would go to the national, the regional, the state conventions. I'm actually a former state president of the South Carolina Youth and College Division of the NAACP. So the organization is doing really good work. Tonight's a celebration of that really good work. It's also a fundraiser, so it's an opportunity for the group to raise some money to be able to continue the really great work that they've been doing for 100 plus years in our country and making sure that democracy works for everybody.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here on the CUBN, you all. We're so glad to have Representative Garvin in the State House, always doing good work and defending democracy on our behalf. Thank you so very much. Awesome. God bless you. Thank you so much.
You may begin your meal. As you do so, I would like to invite Tracy Richardson to come forward for the occasion. Soon she will assume the chair of political action for the Columbia branch of the NAACP. She is chair of social action for South Carolina for Delta Sigma Theta. She's also chair of social justice for the South Carolina National Council of Negro Women. Ms. Richardson.
My name is Tracy Richardson. When I think of the NAACP Columbia branch, I I think of the branch's mission: on fire for justice, on fire for peace. The NAACP Columbia Branch Freedom Fund Gala is our annual fundraiser, which aids in the following: providing scholarship opportunities for students and grants and needed resources to the community, fueling local volunteers who drive culture and change in our communities, amplifying the voice of the Black community to ensure solutions to our most pressing issues are equitable, organizing rallies and direct action campaigns to bring attention to local issues, supporting access to quality education, health care, and economic opportunities, participating in voter registration and get out to vote campaigns, and yes, speaking out against hate speech, yes, the very hate speech that attempted to disrupt our Columbia community. The Columbia branch appreciates the community support as we continue to fight against the assault on civil and human rights. We are living in times where our very freedom is at stake. Tonight, we are here to unite, to celebrate that we will have justice, equality, and equity for not only this generation, but future generations. On behalf of the NAACP Columbia Branch Board of Directors and our esteemed branch president, Ms. Opita Glover, I welcome you to the 37th Annual Freedom Fund Gala. Thank you.
We will now have awards. Jean Lincoln Parks, our first Vice President, and Gail Glover, our at-large member. But before doing so, I am a historian. I want to remind you that what we do tonight builds upon a long and extraordinary legacy. The NAACP of Columbia was established in 1970, and among the founders of that branch were lawyer Butler W. Nance, businessman I.S. Levy, and lawyer N.J. Frederick. And in their application to the national office, they said voting is a necessity and of great importance. We must teach them the necessity and importance of citizenship, give them to work in getting men registered, that we may preserve and perpetuate our civil and political rights for the present. We must hand down to future generations an heirloom of liberty and justice. Those are the founding words of 1917. So it's ironic then that as we prepare for our awards, it's appropriate to honor those who follow the legacy of N.J. Frederick, I.S. Levy, and Butler Nance. Two particular individuals I want to salute before calling upon Ms. Parks. March 14, 1960, students from Allen University and Petty College went to downtown Columbia to exercise their constitutional rights, to sit at lunchtime, and they were denied service. They were arrested, they were tried, and they were convicted. 7 students from Columbia had their cases led by Mallory Perry and Lincoln Jenkins, members of the Columbia branch of the NAACP. They took their case all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And 60 years ago, the United States Supreme Court overturned the conviction of those 7 students. Those 7 students included a man named Charles Ball, Richard Pounds, Johnny Clark, David Carter, and Milton Green, whose family is here tonight. It also included a man named Talent Neal. And one of the only surviving of those 7 was a man named Reverend Dr. Simon Bouie. And we're fortunate tonight that this civil rights convention is with us. Dr. Simon Bouie, please stand and be recognized. The United States Supreme Court overturned his conviction. The very same year that the Supreme Court overturned the conviction of Reverend Bouie and those other 6 young men, 20+ students in Columbia decided to follow the example of Obita Glover and Millicent Brown in Charleston, who among the group integrated the School of South Carolina in 1963. The next year, 20 students dared to enter the large white schools, segregated white schools of Columbia. And on August 30th, 1964, those brave young men and women entered those schools. And one of those brave young men and women is with us tonight, Ms. Cheryl Frazier-Leysath. Will you please stand and be recognized? I call the roll of this issue to remind us of extraordinary legacy. Also to remind you of the men and women today who are carrying on that legacy. So I'm very pleased to have Ms. Jean Blakely Parks, Ms. L. Glover, and our president, Ms. Obita Glover, present awards on behalf of the club. There will be no civil rights movement in this country. And so we're very fortunate tonight to have a leader amongst us who will share his insights about the struggle for civil rights today and in the future. But before I call on him, I want to call a roll just to see if there might be a few voices present tonight. Is there anyone here from Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated? Anyone here tonight from Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated? Anyone here tonight from Zeta Phi Theta Sorority Incorporated? Phi Theta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated? Is there anybody here from Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated? Is there anyone here from Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated? Anyone from Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity? Is there anyone here from the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated? Is there anyone here from the light of the world, the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated? To introduce our keynote speaker, I'm extremely pleased to invite Brother Reuben Freeman, who speaks on behalf of our State Director, Vince Gallup. Please join me in welcoming Reuben Freeman to introduce our keynote speaker.
General President Willis L. Lonzer III, PhD, is a respected leader in the fraternity, business, and in his community with over 30 years of experience as a trained biomedical scientist, including 24 years of global pharmaceutical research and development and global medical experience. A native of Richland, Virginia, he matriculated through Delaware State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry with a minor in German. While at Delaware State, he joined Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated through the Gamma Sigma chapter on November 15, 1986. After college, he attended graduate school pursuing an interest in biomedicine. He holds a Doctorate of Philosophy degree in biochemistry from the University of Akron. Dr. Lonzer is a postdoctoral fellow and researcher in physiology and biophysics at Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine in Cleveland, Ohio. Professionally, the last 24 years of his career have been within the biopharmaceutical medicine and biotechnology arenas, where he has held positions of increasing responsibility within global drug development and medical affairs of several major global pharmaceutical companies. Dr. Lonzer has authored papers published in both scientific and non-scientific journals, as well as book chapters. He holds and has held membership in several professional societies, including the American Society for Human Genetics, the American Chemical Society, National Organization of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers, National Society of Black Engineers, the Society for Critical Care Medicine, and the American Professional Society of ADHD and Related Disorders. Columbia, South Carolina, if you will, welcome Dr. Willis L. Lonzer III by standing on your feet and giving him an overwhelming round of applause.
I can't tell you enough how pleased I am to be in your presence this evening. I want to first thank the NAACP for this generous opportunity to come to Columbia, South Carolina, one of the most beautiful cities in the United States of America, to come and talk to our people, my people. But I wanted to come tonight, though, and talk to you about the circumstances where we are today. And I want to have a couple of prefaces up front. I realize that I am preaching to the choir tonight. So as I stand before you tonight, I invoke the words, we the people, for the people, by the people. I'll say it again. We the people, for the people, by the people. Now, I want to say up front, I was born, baptized in the Baptist church.
Okay.
And I'm married in the AME. But there is no preacher in me. I am a believer that happens to be the nephew of many Baptist preachers. God help you. But today, I want to remind us of where we are. And that although we may have been sometimes throughout our history disenfranchised, the God that we serve has in fact given us all an agency that we must execute on. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As we begin to discuss the reality that the importance of unity, of truth, which we will define, and action in today's society is a necessity. That means you just can't sit back and watch TikTok or watch or Google some YouTube video and accept what you see or read in Wikipedia to be true. In fact, there's some differentiation between truth and what is true. But before we go there, where are we right now? Our current situation. We are recognizing that there is a lack of engagement in general across society. But let's talk reality. We see a lack of engagement. We see a growing apathy and a disengagement among citizens, family members we know, friends. We're in church. Folks just don't want to talk about things. It's depressing sometimes. But we know that when we disengage, there are consequences that come with that. One true reality, if we can talk in truth with each other tonight, is the dismantling of the Civil Rights and Voting Act that was enacted in the late 60s and mid-60s by counter-forces, for lack of a better term. And we did not prepare for it, is a reality that we kind of slept on top. So we own it, but we cannot forget what we've seen and observed. We also know that there's bias in the news, but we need to know that the prevalence of the bias certainly can impact public perception. We have folks in here who only watch MSNBC. I was going to say Fox, didn't I? Some folks only watch Fox 2. Some only watch CNN. And their role in shaping opinions is critical. If you think back, I'm going to date myself again. How many people in the room remember who Walter Cronkite? Right. John Chancellor. Remember that man? Bernie Shaw, the first African-American man to really be a major media figure who was CNN's main person in terms of playing a role. We really hearkened to their voices because during those times, and I think it was starting to grow, we at least had confidence in what people were telling us through the media. But we find ourselves, and I'll reach this shortly, at a new crossroad where we must also take in what we hear, but do more than just absorb it, but vet it, qualify it so that we can understand. The other piece that's quite real is this uncontrolled social media phenomenon that we experience. Promoted to society, where there's no one checking facts or information. It is people put things out there, and you have to ask yourself, why would they do that? The society that many of us experience, maybe our grandparents, other people, talking about what's tasteful versus not tasteful. I do have to walk sometimes college campuses, and my favorite is going to the airport and the bonnets that I see and the slippers, and I'm like, someone help us. And then the men, young men don't know better. Their pants are falling off, still not understanding the prison culture, where they had to take the belt so they wouldn't hang themselves, is what drove the idea of not having a belt. We are gullible to what we consider to be trends. But the spin media piece is where I'm trying to go now. What do we see? We see the rampant display of inaccuracies, falsehoods that breed what? Fear. And it breeds tribalism. You're not like me. We don't need to really talk to you because we're not alike. And I'm afraid of you because of what I saw on a clip that now we know AI can produce, and it's not even real. We also see spin. I said I wasn't going to be as partisan, and I'm not going to try to be partisan, but I got to talk about it. When you watch the Vice President Kamala Harris and the Republican candidate Donald Trump have their debate, the spin post-debate alone, and it spins off into campaigns. It's all about politics, it's about policies. The spin component of media, social media, is very real. It's the qualifier that we do not see anyone vetting what is true or false. We also realize that there are unsubstantiated claims that are being pressed through the media. We know, and this is just an example, that some journalists may say, well, without providing any evidence, this can be a really devastating piece to our economy, but they never qualify why it's so. We also know that opinion statements are often presented as facts. And I know that we see the idea of one journalist, one expert providing their opinion can be a blurred line between what is real news and what is actually just someone's opinion. You know, the folks, we heard about Project 2025, did we not? Or the plan. You know, and this man has no plans, he has concepts, but the idea is that you got to be smart enough to go out here and talk to your brothers and sisters who can't hear that. They've missed all of that. We just went through this video exercise, almost done, where we were watching this video, and you all may have seen it, talking about the powers of observation, and this gorilla suit person walks through the middle of the video. But you miss it because we're not looking for those things. We're enamored by other things. And that's where your clarity, where you are, you being that conduit to help drive that is better. But I will remind you tonight that only light can drive out darkness. And it is a powerful reality. Well, how did you say it? Well, I didn't say it. That's what the Bible says. When we talk about Genesis 1, 3, and 5, when we talk about God said, let there be light, and there was light, and God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the dark. There are other scriptures that corroborate the fact that light shines in darkness, and the darkness has no ability to overcome it, because light is greater than darkness. For those of you who believe, you have been given the light. You have the light in your faith and in your walk with Christ. The word truth is aletheia in the Greek, and it speaks to the clarity that the importance of truth being there. That's why the substantive aspect that all that we believe is built on the truth of Jesus. When you look at the things that happen, it's mentioned, I think, in the book of John 27 times, the word aletheia. So if you think that truth doesn't play an important role, it does. But it depends on who wields it, who's talking, who's willing to engage, who's willing to have the difficult conversation. The power of this is the reality that if you don't go and do this, then who will?
I just wanted to present you with something, again, I'm using the term, I use it, but meaningful. And as Cynthia said, the stage, and it reads, in grateful appreciation for your outstanding contribution and inspiring words at our event, your dedication to justice, equality, and civil rights shines as brilliant for the time we need. On fire for justice, on fire for peace, and we appreciate